Tell you when your time's up.
Talk fast.
It is so funny that all the things that you've been talking about today is exactly what I was going to teach on, because I was thinking of that as I was driving up here today, and especially when you told us the other day, this is kind of our agenda, about not giving up, perseverance, things like that, people saying no, because I'm sure that every consultant in this room, whether you have a team or not, you've had that customer that has told you no. Either they hang up on you in the middle of the call, or here's the even better one, is when you have the customers like, oh yeah, honey, I'll do a facial for you. That sounds like so much fun. And oh yeah, we'll do it on this day. And then, you're calling her back to confirm. She doesn't answer the phone. And then she doesn't answer the phone again. And then you text her and she doesn't return your text. I mean, you all know you've had those customers like that before. We have too. That's the whole point I want to make, is that even as directors, we deal with that even today. I still deal with that. So it doesn't matter what position you get to. People are just, as I say, people are just rude and they're mean, but we have to overcome that and find another one. Or say you have the hostess, you have the hostess that books the party, she does everything, you pre-profile, you're going through everything, either she doesn't answer her door when you get there, you get porched as we like to call it, or, you're trying to confirm everything, and, here it is like the day of the party, and you're like, okay, I've had consultants in my unit come in like, well, Tanya, I'm supposed to have this party tonight, but I can't get a hold of my hostess, and I'm like, well, how far is it? I'm like, pretty much my rule is if it's within 20 minutes, you go anyway. If it's further away, don't drive, because, you don't want to waste all that gas if nobody's going to be there. So, but anyway, the point I want to make is that we do get all those no's. We have all that negative stuff happen too. And then, even, okay, I know there's a lot of red jackets in the room. I'm sure we've got some senior consultants in the room. When your team members, I'm sure we've even had the team members before that come to us, and you guys know what I mean. They'll say, oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to get my free car. I'm going to get my red jacket. And you all know what I'm talking about. We've had those team members, and, it comes the next month, and nothing's changed. Nothing's different. Of course, we'll ask them, well, what did you do last month? Oh, I did a face. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Okay, the whole point that I'm making with all of this is everything in Mary Kay is mathematical. It's not magical, okay? It's all about activity. And when you are doing activity, that's when things happen. Because as I teach my consultants, you go do activity, God will bless your activity. You keep making an effort, and God will bless that effort. But you have to have activity. You can't just sit at home and wait for everybody to come knock on your door wanting Mary Kay, because it doesn't work like that. I know sometimes we'll get one lucky, or not lucky, but you'll have that excited person in your unit that puts on Facebook she's doing Mary Kay, and oh my gosh, she's got 10 people booking a party with her. Yeah, that's great, but it normally doesn't work that way. I wish it worked that way for me. Apparently that's not how it works for me. But what I want you guys to know is that you have to keep persevering. You have to keep working. You have to have that activity. And that means you have to make yourself accountable, because sometimes we get so much in our own little shell, in our own little world, and we think, oh, I'm just not going to tell anybody, because I can go to a meeting, I can sit there, and everything's great, and everybody cheers and rah-rah, and nobody really has to know what I do. I don't have to turn in those weekly accomplishment sheets. Nobody will know what I really did or didn't do. Yeah, don't look at me like that. But anyway, I'm just saying, you think you can be part of the crowd, and that's okay sometimes, but there's so much more for you in this business. And I remember one thing I taught on at January Jumpstart when we were all here, we were talking about your why and why you do this. And that's why I talked about that a minute ago in my iStory, because you have to figure out why you do Mary Kay. Because you're not going to get out the door and do the activity until you know why you're doing it. Because if you don't know why, it doesn't mean anything to you. And that's what I teach my consultants as well in my unit. Because if they're telling me, oh, this isn't working for me, I'm not really, I'm not getting any parties booked, I'm not doing this. And of course I'll say, well, how many calls did you make this week? And they're telling me, oh, I called 3 people. And I'm like, no. Even for me at my level, I sometimes have to call 10 to 15 to get 2 or 3 booked, or more.
1 minute warning.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I want you to know to look at that accountability, to look at, get yourself a power partner. Be accountable to your director every week, even if it's, through your meeting, or even if it's just send her a quick email or text, or, like I said, another consultant that's moving up, because the activity will bring you the results that you want to do. And remember, your numbers, get yourself a tracking sheet. That way you can see, if you only did 10 faces in a month, no, you're probably not going to get a red jacket out of that, because, out of 10, yeah, you might get 3 recruits, but the numbers sometimes are not there. You have to know the numbers, and that's the point I wanted to make, is all of us, as we were working this last 2.5 months, is know those numbers so that way you can get to where you want to be in your business.
Let's give it up for Tanya.
Anybody in here shy? Is that all, really? I feel weird. A couple things I wanted to touch base on was shyness, for one thing, because believe it or not, when I came into business, I was extremely shy, very shy. So shy that, I'll tell this real funny story. I also was the president of the board of directors for Nicholasville Now, a little place right across the street. It's your Main Street Restoration Program. And I was so shy that when they came to me with a microphone to speak at the Spooktacular on Main Street we had, I ran around the courthouse. I was not going to talk, and I begged them. And I just could not talk in front of people, and that, you know, my face would get red and blotchy, and I would stutter, and just, oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. So I would run. And that was one of my big hang-ups in Mary Kay when I first came back in to the business. And I told her I'm not going to do those parties and stuff. I really didn't tell her why. But that was why. I could do perfectly fine in front of one or two people. But when it came to more than that, I would just shut down. I would just, and I had no self-confidence. Why? Could be because of the past that I had. You know, I had been in an abusive marriage before. And that will shut you down. And so working through shyness, that was a challenge for me. But I'll tell you how I did it and how I'm doing it. First of all, I've learned to love myself. So you've got to dig deep. Why are you shy? I had a great upbringing in life. I had a storybook childhood. No reason for me to be shy. Find out why you were shy. And then you really have to do a lot of talking to God. And then you have to actually step out. One of the things that helped me to step out was Tanya. She doesn't even know this, but we were partners in crime. And when we needed new faces, when we needed new names, I was not going to go warm chatter. She wasn't going to go warm chatter. She was just as shy as I was, believe it or not. She'll tell you not, but she was. But that helped me because after 5 minutes of sitting in the car and deciding who was going to go first, you get a little confidence, you know, and we did that often, more often than we should have, but it helped me get out of my shyness. And even Kathy went with us a few times. She knows. Another thing that really helped me work through my shyness was having those $300 weeks where I could get up front, and that was, I was just tore all pieces when I had to do it, but it worked. I did it anyway, and you have to just do it anyway. So, Holly, thank you for having, me come up for those $300 a week, and she would make me say something, because I didn't want to say anything. I would want to go up and get the cramp. I didn't want to say anything, and she would be right here in my face to say something. So, that really helped me a lot. Doing the parties, if you're super shy, start out with one person. Start out doing a facial. That will give you such confidence. You know what? You know more than they do. You're the one that's being trained in this business, not them. So don't even feel like you can't sit and talk to her because you don't know enough. That's baloney. You do. Whether you do or not, you do. And then work your way up to 2 people, then 3, and then have a party of 4 or 5. It really works. And then just doing it anyway. And a lot of times, 1 minute? Okay. And so a lot of times, even to this day, I'll still have that little bit of shyness creep up in front of me, when I want to meet somebody or do something. And I just have to remind myself that God made me, just like He made each one of you. We are all unique and special to Him in our own little ways. And what we matter to Him is all that matters, period. And once you realize that, your confidence, your shyness will disappear, your confidence will start to soar, and it'll get easier. Just keep doing it, and just keep remembering God made you. He never made a nobody. So that's what I
Good job.
Julie, excited if I really told you that this business is very simple and really it's not really a skill that you're probably missing. It's more of a belief that you're probably believing. than anything. How many of you all have ever woke up and had like a day where you go, I can see exactly how this day is going to go, or you go into work and someone's attitude is one way and you go, I see how this is going to go all day long. You see the signs at the beginning, or have you ever also ended up like maybe one week you wake up, you don't go to church, and then the next week you don't go to church, and then like you haven't been in like 6 months, and you're like, where have I been? Why haven't I been going to church? Like, what happened? Or you wake up in your business, you've done really great, and then all of a sudden you're like doing 20 parties, and then you're doing like no parties, and you don't know how you got here. And I will beg to challenge you to really look at every choice and decision and belief that you're having throughout every day, and connect, what I call is connect the dots. That's meaning that we buy into, the enemy's really great at us buying into having a vision casted, and then when we're in the moment thinking, oh, well, that one little decision doesn't really matter. I mean, if I don't make this one time, if I don't make phone calls, it's like that one time not going to church, right? And then 6 months later, you haven't been back at all. And we buy into, we don't connect the dots really quick. Like, it's not like people just, it's not like you weigh, 2 pounds one day and then 900 the next day. I mean, every day there's something that's decided along the way. And I want you to be able to really play out things. I call it playing forward in my mind. And that means like whenever I'm sitting there and I'm looking at a list of things that maybe I created to do for the day, and I am very impulsive. If God tells me to talk to someone else or do something different, I will do that and then move things around. But I don't buy excuses. I kind of get mad at the enemy when he tries to do that to me. The thing that when you find yourself going, oh, well, maybe I really need to do the dishes. I mean, I just don't. That's when I go, oh, recognize it for what it is. Play it out. If I do the dishes today, that means that I'm going to do something different tomorrow. Like, add it up and play it out to what it really is going to be. Because it's not as intricate as you think. You see the signs in other people. You see the attitude in your child, and you know exactly how that day's going to go. Or you see it in other people, and you know how it's going to be. And you think, why can't they see this? I know exactly why they're like this. And look at yourself and go, why can't I see why I end up back in the same place every time? And then get mad at the enemy every time he tries to rob you of it, because all he is a bunch of propaganda. Most of the time it's in your head. So the thing that I try to procrastinate, when I try to procrastinate, I fight up. That's the thing I'll do, and I'll stay up 20 hours more just to get it done, to prove that I'm not going to fail because I brought the enemy's propaganda. The second thing is, sometimes something so unachievable becomes very doable when you change that belief or that thought. I mean, how many of you all have, like when you think about cleaning your house, you're like, oh, Lord, you got like all this whole big house to clean, and you think it needs to take you like 2 days. And then all of a sudden, like you call and you're getting surprise company, you can clean the whole house in like 2 hours. Like it really didn't take that long in the whole time. So that's the thing. When Holly said, I decided I wasn't going to go to dental school, and then she earned a car, and then she became the director. It wasn't because she learned something new. She didn't go like 20 hours training or anything after she made the decision. She made a decision. Her belief changed. When your beliefs change, your actions change. When I got saved, I didn't go out and party hard anymore. You know what I mean? It's just things change. If your actions don't ever change, then that's your sign. I mean, that's your sign that the belief didn't really change. And so to me, if you're not moving, the first thing you work on is an activity. It's your head. It's your belief level. Because once the activities change, once the belief changes. And you can always tell with your friends, with you, and with your business, if the activity's not changed, the belief, the core belief of what's in there is not changed either. And I'll leave you with this quote from Stephen Furtick. I got to sit at his feet for all day on Thursday for 9 hours. And he said, insecurity and pride, sometimes we think they're so far away, but actually they're two heads on a double-headed monster. One says, God, I don't need you, and one says, God, you're not strong enough. It's pretty powerful. Like Melissa's right, God made you. Every time you don't show up for him, he's waiting. He can't pick it all up for you. He doesn't move your body. Your body never goes anywhere your mind doesn't tell it to. It's not like you just wake up and like you're in the shower, or you wake up and like your body, it's your mind. You tell yourself everything to do. So you've got this free will, and he's just waiting for somebody to be bold and audacious. And the reason that you look at people and you think, why do they move so fast? Why do they do all this? Well, there's a thought. I guarantee if you talk to them, you say, what's the first thing you think of when you wake up? What do you think of when you're doing? They're thinking just something different than what you're thinking. In order to think a new thought, you've got to change a belief, a core belief. Self-esteem, self-confidence are two totally different things. Self-esteem is who do I think I am in God. Self-confidence comes from doing something. Most of the time you don't go out and do something unless you believe you can do it, right? I mean, I can't fly, so I'm not jumping off a building. I don't believe I can do it, right? So if you don't really think you are Red Jacket, or that you could earn a car, then you're never going to. Like I tell my girls, get up every morning and act like a director. Be a director already, because then your actions, if you wake up and you think you're already a director, then you're going to end up being a director, because you're going to have to do things that directors do. Because in your mind, play with your mind. It's a wonderful playground when you play the right game. So that's mine.
All right, real quick, we've got 5 minutes, and I want you guys to affirm what you've heard today. What is something that spoke to you? Something that you heard this morning that you thought, oh, this is why I'm supposed to be here, or this, that really said a lot to me. So who'd like to start? Something that spoke to you this morning.
Oh gosh, I'm going first because y'all steal all my ideas and I don't like it.
You're the girl.
Way to go, Pat.
That's right,
Well, mine is be bold. And that a lot of things struck it because I work with some people that have been successful in different businesses, and I am still working, thanks to Tina, on approaching those people that are, I'm Clinique because I had a shop, and I'm this because I did that. And so for me, it is to be bold and approach those women that are busy and that have been successful, because those are really the women that, that I need. And I've also been reading and changing a lot of things about myself and learning about myself. And for me now, it's become more about making somebody else feel good about who they are. It's not really about the money part of it anymore, because it was in the beginning. But now it's just, I want to feel good about me because I made somebody else feel good about who they are.
And Patches, the more people you bless, the more you're going to be blessed because of it. So, okay, awesome. Okay, who else would like to share something? Okay.
Holly is actually just talking about the no's, because I have so many women that I know that either are going to be great customers or are going to be great team members. And I want them so bad. And just hearing that if you're just persistent, it may take a couple of years, but it'll happen if you really feel that in your heart. So that really spoke to me and kind of reaffirmed my belief in that system or process. And also just knowing that what you were talking about, the doubt, and it's funny, just a couple weeks ago, we talked about the different personalities, and I kind of found out what my personality is, and I'm a very strong C, so I overanalyze everything, and so at any given time during the day, it's kind of well, I don't really know, but then, you do it just kind of out of emotion. So it was kind of just nice hearing that I'm not the only one that kind of does that, sometimes doubt will come in, but you just have to keep persevering. And I think that that's across the board the message. And so that's always nice for me to hear from other consultants.
Doesn't it make you all feel good too? You're in control of it. If you just keep persevering, no matter who tells you no, no matter what happens, as long as you don't quit, that's the only way you lose in Mary Kay. The only way is to quit. So if you will just keep on, it happens. So I'm so glad. It's so nice to meet you today too. It's the first time we saw each other at Kirkland. Okay, who else would like to share?
Okay, well, I just kind of wrote some things that all of them said, really, and just kind of go over it, and we'll see where this goes. But basically, one of you said that God blesses activity. And I've learned more in the last 2 months than I probably learned the last 8 years. Because I've been in 8 years. And I can remember when I first came in, I saw the big picture and I knew that's exactly what I wanted. I love the freedom. I don't want to be told what to do by anybody. And I love that this was that chance to have the life I wanted and not be told by anybody. And so I loved and I believed it. But I also didn't realize then, I believed that it was too hard. I never did a power start. I saw my recruiter do a power start. I recruited people that did power starts. And I knew that it could be done. I knew that it was capable, but I didn't believe that I could do it. And I just knew that one day I'm going to figure it out. I knew it was a head thing. And then it came to January Jumpstart. We were going to Linda Tupin's thing, and you had to do a power start or something, perfect start, power start. I never even did a perfect start. I probably did, but I never tracked it, but that's because I'm lying. But it was, I didn't want to not miss out. And there was always this, find out your why, we talked about that. And my why was, I want to be a director, I want freedom, I want all these bigger things. But it's when I broke it down to, what do I want today? I want to be a director sometime, one day, today. But when it got down to it, it was very small. It was a lot smaller. It was, okay, I gotta go to Linda Tubin's next week. I really want that. It was very small, but I wanted it. That was my why. So I did like 15 faces that week to finish it up. And that taught me a lot. Well, then that catapulted me into the next month. I had like 7 parties had booked from that little activity that I did, because that one little why, that today why. And when it got down to it, March was over, and I went back, I was like, I wonder how many faces I did. I'm working on tracking. And I did 30 faces from those 7 parties. So I was really excited. I was like, oh my God, I actually did a Power Star. It's like, and I was really embarrassed by that, because I'm recruiting people like, you gotta do a Power Star. And I never did one. So I never told anybody. And so I was like, but then I did a Power Star. And she was like, really? You never done one? I was like, no. So anyway, but I learned a lot, that my why had to be, start small. Like, what do I want right now to make me get up to do something now? And that, you know, was related to my bigger why, of course. And I just focusing on that little stuff. So it definitely, that I want to affirm that what I've heard is it's the why, it's that activity. Like, I did the 30 faces, and I had huge sales. You know, I made $1,600 that month, and I had 3 new team members, all because of that, just getting up in that activity. And there was a director who, like, you know, she basically bluntly told me, she was like, honey, you're not where you want to be. You're not a director right now. She's like, because you're not doing 30 faces. It's just the faces. You're just not doing activity. So I did that, and then once I did it, then I had that confidence that Melissa's talking about, and that shyness kind of went away, because I was like, oh, it does work. And it was also the easiest month I've ever had.
Did y'all hear that?
That was the one thing I learned. I did the Power Start. All I did was parties, and it was the easiest and less hectic month I've ever had.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
thank you.
All right, well, I know a lot of you guys would like to affirm, but I want to get you out of here on time. It's 12:02. No, it's fine, it's fine. But I just want to just thank you guys so much for taking time to come. Does anybody have people coming for Pizza and Possibilities? Do we have any guests confirmed? Okay,
I don't know.
not for sure. Okay, okay. If you can text her and find out if for sure she's coming. And then the last thing I wanted to take just a real quick group picture before we leave. But I want to thank you guys for coming. I pray you have a safe trip home, and I pray that this morning is what you needed to hear. As many obstacles as we had this morning, there is a reason we were all here. So directors, if you guys will bring your chairs up, I'm going to have our 3 queens